let everyone rest because it's going to be a very exhausting race today with the conditions that we have available, but also to run finals tomorrow alongside the SUP technicals for the juniors divisions, the under 18 boys and girls, and for the prone technical divisions for the open men's and women's.
Yeah, that's right. We have the big day coming up tomorrow with the finals. This is, just the preliminaries because we have a big field of men and women. So, half of the athletes today will be eliminated, but half of them will be advancing to tomorrow. And, this course, here we see the course map in front of us. 3 laps of 1.5 kilometer each. So, adding up to 4.5 kilometers. It is a challenging course. It's a tiring course as well, as we see the athletes lining up right here.
On the start line, you can see everyone's toes on the line. Anthony Vela.
Yeah, this is the moment, all the athletes are being called to the line. Anthony, the race master, making sure everyone is on the line, ready to go. Looks like someone was a little bit eager there to get going. They're still waiting for Anthony to give the green light. But, it's a bunch of racehorses here. All the athletes are excited. They're pumped. They've been training all year for this moment, and it's about to get underway here momentarily.
You can just feel that. I mean, my heart is pounding so hard just sitting here watching. You can only imagine what is going through everyone, but you've been through this situation yourself many times before.
Yeah, and I look forward to taking all of you through those emotions here as we get the race started momentarily. The athletes are being called to the line now. They've probably been given the order of athletes ready. You see them locking down here, awaiting the signal of that horn. And off they are. The start's on for the first heat of the men's technical race as we see the athletes running to the shoreline. This is one of those really tricky moments where you're navigating the wind. You can see the wind blowing the boards around as the athletes punch through the surf here. They're going to be looking to get out to that first buoy, but before they can really set the course, they're going to have to navigate some surf here through the 2 to 4 foot waves we have on offer today.
Yeah, it's pretty big surf coming through to this part of the beach at La Grande Plage. We're at a different location to where we had our SUP surfing event for the first 3 days of competition, but the swell has picked up and that direction has changed just enough to really push some bigger waves into La Grande Plage, where it was fairly flat for the first couple days of our waiting period.
Yeah, being on the northern end of the beach here, it is more protected, so the new swell coming in overnight definitely, as you can see here, proving a challenge for the athlete. It is some conditions that, some athletes relish, other athletes maybe are, hoping for calmer waters, but nonetheless, they have some waves on offer today as we see the pack punch through. That seems like might be Tituan Puyu out in front here on his NSP, but we see the athletes, punching through the surf. A little bit of spread to the field here. You want to put yourself, at least thinking as an athlete, you want to put yourself in a good position going into that first buoy that you can see on your screen right there. That buoy is called the golden buoy in racers' terms. It is, there is a bit of credit to the athlete that makes it there first. There's no points or anything, but there's a little bit of bragging rights if you can make it there first. As you can see the athletes hammering down here. As they get to that buoy, they're going to be looking to catch some bumps that can propel them away from the rest of the pack. That's kind of a make or break situation. And there's so much I want to take you through during this race, Shannon. It's very bizarre not to be on the start line myself, but I'm loving watching the action.
Well, we're so thankful to have you on this side of things. Now, as we can see, Tituan sitting in the lead of the pack there, starting to approach that golden buoy. I'm really loving, the educational side of it that you're bringing into this, but also the excitement of knowing what might be going through the minds of everyone as we see Tituan approaching the first buoy.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure that's Tituan right there, but we got definitely Polar Bear in second place. I believe that's Michael Booth on his outside as they round the buoy. David Leao. We got Shrimpy taking the inside there with the green hat. You can see Shrimpy, the defending world champion. David Leao on his outside. Campbell Carter from the U.S. also in the mix there. Yeah, we got the racers making it around this buoy as they're going to aim for that next buoy. They might be able to catch a little bit of a bump here as they're aiming for that second right buoy you can see on your screen there.
Now it's a left-hand turn off the first buoy. It'll be a right-hand turn off the second buoy.
Yeah, left turn initially, right turn next, and then, going into some left turns again afterwards. You can see the athletes making their way to the buoy here. It's going to be a nice right turn into the glare. I believe we're going to get confirmation there, but that's definitely Polar Bear in second place, Shrimpy in third, Michael Booth in that fourth position. That was Michael Booth taking a little plunge there, it seems, as David Leao and Campbell Carter pass him. That's Tituan back there. Tituan opting for a more casual start to the race. And, in these technical races, one of the strategies is, you're tempted to go all out in the beginning, but it is a 4.5-kilometer race that the athletes have to make it through, so they will be, managing their expectations. As we see really a lot of athletes going down right here. We see Max from the Netherlands rounding the buoy here. Is he going to stay on his feet?
There you can really see from that angle how challenging these conditions are. The surf is really sizey, but that wind is also coming into play. And right now they're paddling pretty much straight into it. As they've got this long stretch, they've passed the second buoy. They've all rounded that golden buoy at the very beginning. They're now coming up to the third buoy within the race course, and they've got to do 3 laps in total. Now we're expecting that the fastest racer will be anywhere in that 30 to 40 minute mark, just based off of the conditions being quite challenging today. As we can see the back of the pack rounding that second buoy with that right hand turn. Some of the paddlers needing to go down to their knees or to that sitting position just to be able to stay stable and not lose their footing and not actually take a plunge into the water.
Yeah, conditions really being the wild card here today. It's as we will see them come into our screen again, we'll get a closer look at all the athletes as they come closer to the beach in a second. They're going to make a left turn here. But predicting the times of the heats is really going to be tricky because there are a lot of waves on offer. There is a south wind that's making, you see, the water really choppy here. It's going to be, a key for the athletes to make the most of these conditions, but it is a little bit, it is going to be challenging for all of them, and they're probably not going to be within mind that the finals are up tomorrow. They're probably going to be conserving some energy, so hard to say how hard they're going to be pushing in this heat as we see some nice waves rolling in there after the buoy. And this is going to be crucial to catch the waves exactly on this section here.
Now talk to us about the technicalities of rounding a buoy like that. When there's that chop on the water, when those waves coming through, is it more of an advantage to be on your heel side or your toe side?
We call it a backside turn. You want to have, you want to be turning with your back to the buoy. That is the, universally preferred way of turning a buoy. There's a little bit more stability you can keep like that. If you're doing a toe side turn or a front side turn, there's a very strong risk that you will be, you cannot turn as quick because you are paddling on your back then. And it gets very technical. We can dive deep down into the specifics here, but as we see out in the front, that is, I believe, Shrimpy in the green hat. Still waiting on confirmation who that is on the left side. It may be Antonio Morello from Spain on his NSP board, but we're seeing a lot of waves here, but not anything that's propelling the athletes super into the lead.
Down to 6 minutes, or I guess up to 6 minutes.
Up to 6 minutes. We're not in a surfing heat.
On the clock. And here we go with a couple solid waves starting to roll through.
Yeah, we have a couple of nice waves here as the athletes are making it in towards that inside buoy on the southern side of the beach. 4 athletes riding this front wave. I definitely see Shrimpy, our defending world champion, out to the right. He's making his way. He's furthest to the north on this wave, furthest to the right. Look at this beautiful shot here. This is giving me flashbacks to those golden days of racing in California at the Battle of the Paddle, racing through the surf. And you can really see the surf coming into play here today with, it's probably, the 3 to 5 foot range. It's going to be, right now it's easy for the athletes, quote, easy to make it to the beach riding the waves, but they're going to have to turn a flag in here on the beach and then push back out through the surf. And you can see the flag there come into display on the screen as we see running up the beach. That's, I believe, Shrimpy in first place. Perhaps our webcast crew can get us a closer look at the athletes in the front right now so we can get exact names and see how they're also coping with the conditions.
Yeah, this is really exciting to see that big set roll through, to see everybody get, that kind of speed coming through to the inside, and also it looking so challenging just to keep that footing as we can see paddlers going down. But then to have to hit the shoreline, to have to actually run in to hook around that buoy, and then to have to fight back out through the surf, the test of strength and endurance is unlike anything else.
Yeah, it is really one of those key disciplines here, and I think we should just take a moment to appreciate the action unfolding in front of us. The athletes are struggling. We're seeing boards collide right there.
This is wild.
Yeah, looks like there are a couple of loose boards right there as our athletes make it to the beach right there. might be a broken leash, because I believe it is mandatory for all the athletes to wear leashes today, as directed by race master Anthony Vela. Pushing back out through the surf here, this is going to be those critical moments where it's a make or break situation, especially where you are able to punch out through the waves and perhaps your competitors are not. In second place, we do have Antonio Murillo there going into the beach, but going out through the surf now, it's a wide open game. It is Shrimpy on the left side of the screen here, looking at punching through first, and that's really, where the race can be won or lost. It's one of those nerve-wracking situations for the athlete. But as we see on screen, that's a nice-looking set approaching. Can the athletes get over this wave?
It's going to be so important to be able to break through these sections of the waves, to be able to just punch across, and especially to avoid getting hit by that white water.
Yeah, we see 4 athletes here punching through really nicely. It seems out in front, Shuri Arakai from Japan. I believe that's Christian Andersen as well from Denmark on one of the NSP boards. Is that David Liao or Campbell Carter on the SIC? I can't quite determine that, but I believe also Antonio Murillo from Spain in that top 4 at this point.
9 minutes, 30 seconds of time we have passed so far. Rounding that.
Yeah, this is that final inside buoy. When the athletes make it to this buoy for the 3rd time, it will indicate that it's the last time, and they will be returning to the beach. But as of right now, they're going to be they're going to be starting their 2nd lap. So the athletes, they're going. There's 10 minutes elapsed time so far. So we're probably going to see the top athletes finish somewhere around, I'm guessing, the 30 to 35-minute mark.
Shrimpy coming through on the inside. So he's already rounded that 2nd inside buoy for the right-hand turn. He's now back to the beach, and he's got a solid lead over the rest of the field to come running up the sand and round that inside flag.
Yeah, Shrimpy, a fantastic job right there, breaking away from the pack. He was able to catch one of those waves, it seems. Get that break situation where you can compare it to, going through a light in your car. Shrimpy got the green light right there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, looks like the other competitors had to stop for a little red section, and they might have the chance to catch up later if Shrimpy is unlucky, navigating the surf going out. There's plenty of opportunities to see this race go back and forth. But as we see going to the beach, we have 4 athletes rounding that mark, and we'll probably see them run up now. Looks like Michael Booth for sure.
Michael Booth, the multiple Australian world champion.
Michael Booth, polar bear in 2nd. Hard to see for the athletes there. I believe that is David Liao on his SIC as well, and Antonio Murillo. And athletes approaching the beach right now, you can really see the chaotic nature of the surf right now. There's a lot of current, it seems like, pulling the athletes to the right here. That's another factor you have to take into account when you're setting your racing line. That's Campbell Carter on the left side of your screen there, coming in.
The current factoring in today, the waves, as well as the wind just blowing that kind of cross onshore direction. You can see that it's really challenging to get that kind of straight angle into the beach for each of the racers.
Yeah, that's absolutely, that's a rough situation right there for, our athlete taking off in the white water right there. Sometimes it's you got some decisions to make. You got many decisions to make when you're out on the race course. You got to determine, if you're going to sprint your guts out to get past sections that are dangerous, like right there. You might actually sometimes look over your shoulder as you're coming in, looking at what the waves are doing. You want to pay attention that you don't put yourself in one of those bad spots where you cannot, where suddenly the wave is just on top of you and you don't, because taking off on a steep section on a 14-foot race board is not easy. That's one of those situations you just really want to avoid. Like, ideally, you get into the wave early and you can just cruise down the face.
I love listening to that, getting into that kind of softer section rather than right where it's hitting that shallow section of the beach and it's in that full shore break part of the wave, as we can see those paddlers just rounding and running back out into the lineup.
And as we see, definitely out front, Shrimpy going to that golden buoy again, the first buoy of the race. He's going to be turning that buoy momentarily. cementing his lead. He's going to be looking to get a bump right there. And if you do find yourself as an athlete in the lead at this stage of the race, you're going to be looking at, obviously you want to build your lead, but especially when you turn those buoys on those sections that provide bumps or waves, you're going to be looking to get a bump as quickly as possible. Just keep moving. Put your competitors under pressure. That's the way to go. And, Shrimpy definitely applying a very aggressive mindset. You can see his cadence right here. Even though this is just a semifinal, Shrimpy is putting on a demonstration of his abilities, his power, what he can do. And, this was also what saw him, win in Puerto Rico last year, was he was able to break the field at some early stages as well. And, every time there was a wave, he showed that, he's not going to take it easy. He's going to work his ass off to make every single meter he can get on his competitors. So we see David Leao from Brazil turning that buoy. David heading to the Pan American Games later in October. He'll be representing Brazil there.
This that we're looking at right now is about the top 10 paddlers coming around that golden buoy.
That was Itzel Delgado there, turning on his infinity board there before.
And it's going to be those top 11 competitors that qualify for the final tomorrow. Now, what's the benefit for Shrimpy? Taking out a win here, of course, there's those kind of bragging rights, that mental, excitement of knowing that he's taken out the field in the semifinals. But is there any benefits to the strategy heading into finals day and the start line specifically?
There is a little bit of strategy, of course, in it. We need to get confirmation on it, but I believe the winner of the semifinal getting first picks on position on the start line on finals day, and that can actually be a very important strategical advantage, because if you have, say, strong side wind from one side of the beach, you might want to start on the upwind side there. It's hard to say exactly what tomorrow is going to bring. But, having that first place seed will give you more options as you approach the final tomorrow. So, there's something on the line. But then again, these races are so long. And as you can see already, there's so many opportunities to, get yourself into good and bad situations. And I don't think that, this is just my personal interpretation, I don't think that first seed is super important, because there's so much time and distance to make it up. What you saw Shrimpy really did well here was he caught that wave, those series of waves on that first round that set him out in front. And here we have Cameron Carney in the number 163 jersey. Cameron, birthday boy today.
Yeah, that's so exciting. What a great way to spend a birthday here in France, away from home, but traveling with the team from Canada. And he's got a big wave breaking right in front of him. Yeah, challenging to hold on to that.
Cameron was just telling me down on the beach he likes racing, and he paddles on the Great Lakes in Canada. So, he honestly admitted he's not well versed in perhaps the waves we're seeing today, or at least that style of waves. But he looked happy, he looked excited, and he was going to do a lot more racing this week. So a young gun from Canada turning, I believe, 17 today.
Very exciting to see that younger generation coming into racing as well. We've got some of those names like Tituan, like Polar Bear, that have been in that conversation for many years, that have been like yourself competing along the lines. But then to see some of those younger competitors that are starting to come through and really taking a love to racing must be exciting for the future of the sport.
It definitely is. It's so nice, feeling like one of the old farts of the sport so far, like I just turned 30, but no, it's nice when you see young blood come in, like fresh eyes, excitement, power. As we see on screen right now, a nice looking wave there. I believe that Shrimpy still out in front, almost catching that bump there. Shrimpy, the youngest ever world champion here at the ISA World SUP and Paddleboard Championship. He won those 2 world titles last year in the tech race and in the distance, only being 16 years old, which, we have a lot more we can say about Shrimpy, but I think he blew a lot of minds last year. As we see him, here you see him slowing down on screen right now. He sees that wave, very in control, just moves back on his board there, taking a nice, I would say, conservative line there, saving some energy. And Shannon, that's one of the things you really can do when you catch a wave. It allows you to get that maybe 10, 20, 30 seconds of breathing.
Yeah, that breathing being
and maybe I need to breathe here a second.
It's been so exciting to be able to call the action alongside the 6-time world champion with Casper Steinfath as we take a look at Shrimpy now, just taking that crouched approach down on his knee, wanting to make sure that he doesn't tip that board either way as he comes into the shoreline and starts to race in front. He just had that moment to breathe, to be able to just take in that wave, to ride it into the shoreline. He's got such a decent lead on the rest of the field as well, as he's coming in to finish that second lap. Not entirely finished, he's about halfway through that second lap now. And we have another paddler coming into that shore break. Shrimpy already running back on his way out. And you can see fans, you can see teammates that are down on the shoreline. A great moment for them as their competitors come through from their nations to be able to give them a word of encouragement, some excitement to push them as they're heading back out. Knowing that at this stage of the race, now 18 minutes into it, where are the exhaustion levels really at? Is there still some of that energy in the tank, or is it starting to approach, that moment of really tapping into the preparation that's gone on behind the scenes, the mental preparation of how to keep yourself in that zone as well for the rest of the race moving forward?
Yeah, as we see Sebastian Fumero there from Costa Rica making it around that inside flag. The exhaustion and the fatigue is going to start setting in. We have, 19 minutes elapsed since the start. I would say the leading athletes are just over halfway through the race now, so we are probably going to see them finish somewhere in the 30-minute mark as they head out on their last lap momentarily. But it's hard to say, and I think there's different zones on the race course that are more exhausting than others. Like catching a wave in theory should be very relaxing, but navigating a 14-foot board down a face of the wave, and as we saw Shrimpy there before, actually spending a lot of energy keeping the board in the right direction, making sure he had control of it. You need to actually tell yourself in your mind that no, I'm in control, and I'm also focused on breathing and regaining some energy. But then, there's not really any easy section to a technical race like this, as we see Shrimpy turn that final buoy for the second time. Next time he turns this buoy, he's going to be finishing the race. And I think one of the situations when you find yourself out front, like Shrimpy is right now, you're going to want to conserve a little bit of energy. This is not the final. So it really depends on what the situation is in the race, and you may or may not consider taking a breath.
Now, what does preparation look like for, someone heading into the World Championships? Is it trying to enter into maybe some races back at home, traveling a little bit in the time coming up? Is it setting up technical races to practice on specifically once the race course is released?
Oh, this is a long discussion we could get into, but definitely these athletes being absolute world class, like what we're seeing here, is the best athletes in the world. A regular preparation will probably include, months and months and months of training. You build your training into, and this is just the universal training philosophy, like you have periods during the year where you focus more on building the base, doing some more low intensity sessions where you're just building that aerobic capacity. Then perhaps as you get closer to race season, a couple of months out, you do more high intensity work to build that lactate threshold. Then, some more specific race training as you get closer to get more technical. I could imagine a lot of the athletes, I would at least, try to find conditions similar to the venue of the World Championship to train in prior to actually going into competition. As we see Shrimpy here with his famous green hat making it around this flag, he's got his NSP board right there. Very comfortable position right now for Shrimpy.
Yeah, he's in a significant lead.
And right here, I believe we have, is this Tituan?
Tituan 272.
Yeah, Tituan right there, the 2014 ISA World Long Distance Champion. Tituan, having competed for many years, I remember in 2014, he kind of just burst onto the scene, had this amazing endurance. He originally he's born and lives in New Caledonia. Tituan has been a staple on the French national team, but he's also just been one of those names that everyone in the sport of stand-up paddling knows and loves, because Tituan is one of those extremely, sometimes over-humble guys. He's just, one of those pleasant people to be around. And I've had the pleasure of both training and, hanging out and competing with Tituan for a long time. A nice guy on land, ruthless competitor on the water.
Yeah, you can really see that coming through, because at the beginning of the race, he was kind of behind that pack. He wasn't in that first four, racers. And now as we're coming into the most important lap possibly, coming into that third lap, he's made his way into that front of the pack. He's just behind Shrimpy. Shrimpy does have that lead on him, of course, as we're coming through this inside shore break on the final run back out to that Golden Buoy.
Yeah, this is the last run to the Golden Buoy, as we see Michael Booth from Australia right there, making his way through the surf. Michael just getting a little plowed by that wave. Michael talking to me this morning, saying, you know, he was stoked to be here. His main focus obviously being the distance race on Saturday. But Michael was telling me, like, yeah, why not do the tech race? You know, he loves these types of conditions, and I think for him it's more about having some fun here. You know, going in and out through the surf. Michael being a very accomplished, multiple-time world champion. He runs some great training programs. He's built a very strong community around, you know, improving paddling in many forms. He has a long list of clients, I'm sure, following him right now all around the world, as we see Christian Anderson there in left on your screen coming through. Also, number 298, we have
David Leao from Brazil.
It's Leao, yeah.
And we had Itzel Delgado of Peru in that number 4 spot, just behind Michael Booth, who was trailing Tituan Puyo, who's trailing Shuri Araki, also known as Shrimpy. And there we can see Shrimpy rounding the Golden Buoy for that last time.
Yeah, lots of action there. We see Shrimpy turning that outside buoy. You know, waters look kind of calm from the drone angle right there. I think the athletes are spending quite a bit of energy stabilizing right now, staying on their feet through this, not just the wave section, but we see a lot of bumps on the outside as well. That was Antonio Murillo right there from Spain on his NSP, working his way out through the shore break here. It is the 11 top positions that will be advancing to the final here. So the athletes, you know, definitely looking to get into that advancing position. And that's, you know, sometimes that's hard. You know, we're struggling a little bit here, keeping tabs on who's exactly in what place, and we're working to keep you posted on that. But the athletes also trying to keep aware of where are they in relation to the bigger picture of the competition.
Especially, you know, considering those that are maybe sitting in 8th place down to 12th place. If they're close enough in that conversation to be making it across the line within that qualifying position, if they can feel or see behind them that there's another pack that's coming a little bit closer. And it's been a really exciting race so far, especially considering the conditions. The fact that we've got those bigger waves, we've got that wind, we've got that current throwing a real kind of spanner in the works across the board. We've seen a lot of racers fall off their boards, whether it's on the way in or on the way back out, because the conditions are really challenging through that surf zone. And it's really just thrown in this extremely exciting element to the race today.
Yeah, as we just saw there on screen before turning the flag, that was Ben Morham from Team England, and I believe also from Puerto Rico, that was Ricardo. So situation right now, we have some positions coming in from our friends down on the beach. We have Campbell Carter in 7th place, Antonio Moreno in 8th, Ricardo in 9th, and Ben in 10th. 11th place currently made out by Paolo Marconi. So there's some athletes there looking to stay in that top 11 advancing position. As we can see, yeah, some really hectic conditions there. If that was me entering the water, I would really be trying to get my breath, because I know, yeah, that's going to be a tough ride through that wide water.
Is it easier to take that stance where your, you know, feet are parallel to each other heading into those whitewater moments, to be able to stay crouched down low?
Well,
getting that weight a little bit farther back, even in, you know, maybe a right foot forward stance?
You definitely got to go into a surf stance at some point going through the waves. You need to lower your center of gravity. You need to, of course, when a whitewater approaches you, the tactic is to get that board over the wave, you know, just ride over it. And that requires that you have some speed. So you're also going to have to really power up, increase your cadence in your paddle stroke. As we see a lot of the athletes, you know, when they are actually approaching the wave, you'll see them start sprinting full speed and then really power over the wave. But there's only so much, you know, juice you can have to do it like that. And yeah, going through the surf, definitely one of those more, you know, demanding moments. And I think in a long race like this technical is, it's, you know, 4.5 kilometers, you're gonna be very winded after that inside wave section. As we see Shrimpy right here, our race leader, catching a really nice bump. And you look at his cadence right here. You see, right now his board is flowing on the wave, but to catch that wave that was not even breaking, he had to really power up.
Yeah, it's amazing. With the use of the paddle, with the use of a 14-foot board, it really allows you to get into those bumps nice and early, and to be able to have that moment to just take a bit of a breath, although there is a lot of paddling still involved to try and stick with some of those bumps. It just gives you that extra opportunity to use the ocean to your advantage. And that's one of the really exciting things about running races like this in the open ocean, is that we have those waves coming into play. It allows all of those different dynamics into the conversation, which is very different from racing on flat water.
It's very different. You know, there's no style of racing that necessarily is better than the other, but the ocean racing is definitely a favorite among many athletes, many fans out there, because it just, it adds another element to the mix. It's, of course, there's the strength and the endurance of the paddler, but there's also the technical knowledge. And I think from my time as an active racer, I've always appreciated those moments where it's really the technical aspects that come into it, like making decisions in a split second when you're maybe pushed into a position where you got some steep waves approaching you. And yeah, like Shrimpy right here, he's going to be coming through the shore break now, really popping that board. He's going to walk back now, you see, to really stall the board, make sure the nose doesn't dive. As he's coming in to the last rounding of a turn on the beach, the next time he comes into the beach, he's going to be finished with this heat. So yeah, probably finishing somewhere in the mid 30 minutes. Shrimpy casually running there. Shrimpy, yeah, definitely in the lead of this heat, as we see Titouan from France here, also catching a nice bump. He's in second place right now. Titouan is also one of those athletes that qualify for the title of Mr. Casual. As you can see him just, riding down this way.
And he just looks so in control. And what I am noticing too is how crucial and important having good footwork is. The movement of feet across that board, it's not, drastically, it's very different from, say, longboard surfing, but the use of that footwork being so important to keep that board in that trim line and to be able to negotiate, those waves on the way in and the way out.
Yeah, it's all about the trim. And, that's probably one of the more interesting dynamics of this race. I believe we see Itzel Delgado here. I can recognize Itzel here based on his paddle. He's using one of those new quick blade paddles, I believe the Stingray it's called. He was trying to sell it to me the other day, or sell me on the idea. I know Jim Terrell from Quick Blade has been working some new designs there. Itzel just casually making it into the beach. But casual, you can't stay too casual, because if you're surfing a 14-foot board, there's always the risk of nosediving. And it's a lot of times those moments where you don't feel sharp or you're not focused, it might be feeling easy, that's when disaster enters the mix.
So true. Now, are these the same boards and the same equipment that will be used during the SUP distance race?
Yeah, absolutely.
Same length of equipment?
Same length of equipment for all the racing. 14-foot, that's become the universal standard now. For the longtime fans of the sport, you will recall there was an era of 12.6 foot race boards. That's kind of faded now. There's still some 12.6s around, but mostly for a couple of junior races here and there, or for smaller lightweight athletes. As we see Michael Booth and I believe Itzel there making their way out. That's Polar Bear from Denmark on the left of your screen. Itzel and Michael there. I believe Tito is writing a new prototype NSP for this race. Tito, yeah, he's been developing boards with NSP for many years. Been one of their main developers over the years. David Leal from Brazil here on screen, riding his SIC to the beach. David's going to be going straight to the not straight, but going to the Pan Am Games later in October, representing Brazil. He was really stoked about that, as I saw him on the beach there before.
Yeah, it's really exciting to know that the Pan American Games will be coming up quickly, just the end of next month in October. And it's going to be a really exciting event to watch unfold, of course, with surfing, with stand-up paddling, with stand-up paddle surfing, and with the SUP technical racing involved. As we see, Shrimpy has already rounded that last inside buoy. He's on the way down to that inside beach flag for the last time. And Titouan just behind him, as we can see. Those paddlers towards the back of the pack, and this is where it's going to be really important to try and, make it through these sections without any of those flaws or those errors, because it's going to be those top 11 that are going to advance through into the grand final tomorrow. And any mistakes here could really see, that 8th place slipping down to 12th place, that, 10th place jumping up into 6th place. All of those differences are really important at this stage of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see Shrimpy here taking that last wave into the beach, he's going to be very content with this race. Shrimpy, continuing where he left off last year, defending world champion. He's going to come into the beach here shortly. He's going to jump off the board now. You don't have to run over the finish line with your board, but since he has such a commanding lead, he thinks, why the hell not? I'm sure he's going to carry his not opting for the Japanese flag today from Coach Suzuki. But yeah, Shrimpy, I believe 17 years old now. He's got quite a run in front of him because the tide just keeps dropping here in France. I think since they started the heat, the tide dropped even further. So yeah, Shrimpy coming in here, he's gonna get that first position into the big final tomorrow.
Really incredible for the two-time world champion from last year's races in Puerto Rico. Shrimpy across the line gives the bow and an impressive performance. I mean, pretty much smoked the field in semifinal number 1, crossed it really early. At 16 years old last year, he took out the SUP technical race and the SUP distance race. Was incredible to see him take the victory out in 2 of the disciplines of racing, as we see.
This is T2 jogging up the beach. The athletes do have quite a jog in front of them, which, right now they're coming in one by one, which is, not a big issue. But if we get to some of the more critical positions, perhaps for that 10th, 11th, 12th position, we could see athletes coming in on the same wave. And, for better or worse, that might turn into a 200-meter sprint up the beach.
There you can see Itzel Delgado. He's in a pretty full-on sprint right now.
Yeah, Itzel in 3rd place right here. Michael Booth behind him in 4th. Itzel, the Peruvian jukebox, as we call him on tour. Itzel, always a colorful guy up for some, he's good at singing, great at dancing, and Itzel also, I believe, a medalist at the Pan Am Games in Lima back in 2000, I believe, was it 19?
Taking a look at the arrival times, the winner in across the line at 33 minutes, 20 seconds.
Yeah, so T2 just coming in. There half a minute after. We have 4 athletes there. Michael Booth, casually high-fiving T2 and Michael. Old, I would say, rivals. They've been fighting for so many long-distance titles over the years. As we see Polar Bear.
Denmark coming in across the line, going in for the selfie first.
Yeah, Polar Bear definitely is going to be content making it into the final. I'm sure curious to hear his thoughts afterwards, but I think a lot of the athletes might have played it safe, especially here towards the front, not spending more energy than you really need to. It's always a hard thing to do, though, because when you're in the race, you become like one of the, dogs chasing a goal, right? Like I don't know. I definitely remember just losing complete focus on the big picture and just sprinting my guts out.
I cannot imagine you holding back in a moment.
It's hard to hold back. You want to win. You want to do well. And yeah, I think that's Campbell Carter right there taking this wave in. I believe also with Antonio Morillo from Spain. That's David Leao running up there, high-fiving Team Brazil before he crosses the finish line.
Coming in that 6th place position. So we did have a few changes. We had Itzel Delgado overtake Michael Booth for the 3rd and 4th place positions during that 3rd lap, where Michael was actually leading Itzel through that 2nd lap. We had a switch also between Christian Andersen and between David Leao coming into that last lap as well. So a few little positions changing place, but of course all of them guaranteeing that qualification into finals day tomorrow.
Yeah, it's more of a check-in today for a lot of the top athletes. They are safely through to the final tomorrow. The final being probably one of those very contested finals with 22 of the best in it. As we can see that beautiful wave out the back, a little balmy breaking out there. I'm curious if that's going to factor in when we get to the long distance race on Saturday, if the swell is still around.
Yeah, that is, the balmy is really going off. We haven't seen that yet this week, being here in Les Sables d'Olonne, such a beautiful region of the world, and it's been exciting to see the first few days of surfing get underway. We saw Max Torres and Luchi Cosoletto take out the wins, the gold medals. So we already have a couple gold medalists. We have Puerto Rico and France sitting in good places on the team rankings as well. And today we're just running through the semifinals for the SUP technical racing in the men's and women's division. We'll be holding off their final to be raced tomorrow alongside the under 18 boys and girls SUP technical finals, as well as the prone men's and women's technical finals for the prone division.
Yeah, we got Ben Morham right here running in from Team England. He's going to be getting a little workout there. I think this is one of the longer runs I ever recall seeing to cross the finish line.
Gonna have some cross training going on behind the scenes.
We got some cross training. That's it's always a controversial one how long the run should be. As we see, well, this is what a run can be. 3 athletes running up the beach. They're all going to be qualifying, I believe.
9. Actually, only 2 of
Only
them
2
will,
of them.
because we've already got 9. We've got 10 and 11 to fill, and it looks like 175 in the back is not going to take that qualification.
That's Ricardo from Puerto Rico. Looks like he's missing out there. That was Paolo Marconi from Italy. I believe that was Marco we saw running there.